In my dreams, I still had this set of nails on, except some of them were missing. And I was bawling to DJ Khaled, just telling him how nobody wanted to go to my party on Friday.
What did he say?
He just stared at me. He was like, I feel like he was like feeling awkward.
Oh, okay.
Like he didn't know what to say.
He's like,
I know, he didn't even pat my back or anything.
Wow.
Like I was like, wow.
Drake on the other hand, he'd probably just cry
He would cry with me. I'm sorry, girl. I'd go to your party.
He writes a song about how he never got invited to a party.
And if I invited him to my party, he would go?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
My name is Celeste.
My name is Kathy.
And today, Kathy is going to be telling me a wild... I actually don't know. I feel like it's probably going to be
We
wild.
always say a wild story.
I'm excited because it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Thank you for hanging in there. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
We had to get a job.
Yeah.
So, anyways. Today, I'm going to be telling you guys about Amy Carlson and the Love Has Won cult. Have you heard of it? Oh, buckle in, babes.
Oh my god.
Buckle in, babes. As always, I want to start off with my sources. So I use the Mile Higher podcast, which is Kendall Ray's podcast.
I love that podcast.
And I didn't know until after the fact.
Oh.
So that's cute, yeah. And then I used a video essay from the YouTube channel called Weird Reads with Emily Louise, which amazing. Like, we're gonna obviously link it below and you should watch it, like, for real, because it's really good. She did amazing. And a Dr. Phil episode. And a couple of other articles that it'll all be in the show notes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna have to go fact check you, so.
Yeah, no, definitely,
Just
yeah.
so you know.
Okay, so we're talking about Amy Carlson today and the Love Has Won cult.
Can I just say real quick, cults, wild.
Yeah, fascinating.
A little spooky. I'm not going to say I love cults because I
No.
don't think anything good ever comes out of a cult, but
No.
it is interesting.
It's interesting to learn about. I feel the same. I don't think they should be glamorized. It's just like, it's really interesting to learn about it for me. And with this cult, I don't know, what drew me in is just that it's so relevant to everything today. Like, so let's get into it.
Okay.
Let's get into it. So I want to start with a little bit of background and tell you guys a little bit about Amy. So Amy was born on November 30th, 1975 in Dallas, Texas. And she was the oldest child and she had two younger sisters. And they grew up in a middle-class home and they had a pretty normal upbringing. She was a good kid. She even sang in the school choir. She got good grades. Nothing really was out of the ordinary or anything like that. This is her in high school.
Oh, cute. Love the 80s hair.
Yeah, so normal kid, and then when Amy got into high school, her mom noticed that she actually started getting in a lot of abusive relationships.
Ooh.
And she also started abusing drugs, especially alcohol. So she developed an addiction problem pretty early on.
Dang.
And by the time she was 30, she was married and she had 3 kids.
Okay.
Her family says that she was never really maternal. But yeah, she had the 3 kids and then she worked at McDonald's. She was a manager, just living by, you know, sustaining herself and her family. Everything was pretty normal. And throughout the years, she had been really getting into like holistic healing and stuff like that. More spiritual stuff, like new age spiritual stuff. And her family says that sometimes she would say kind of weird stuff, but nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that made them really be like, oh crap, you know. And then in 2006, when Amy was 32, she was having Thanksgiving dinner with her family. She sat down, she had dinner, and then she got up, she left, and she never came back.
Like with her kids?
No, by herself.
Like she left her kids?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she abandoned her 3 kids. I think they were 2, 7, and 12 at the time. And her husband, and she just never came back. She left with a man that called himself Father God.
Oh no.
Who took her to Crestone, Colorado.
Red flag. Was she on drugs still?
Nothing that I read confirmed or denied as to whether she was in active addiction at the time when she left with Father God.
Oh, okay.
But she always struggled with addiction throughout her life, especially with alcohol. So she might have been not super sober during the time.
Or like drinking sometimes. Yeah. Okay. Ooh.
Yeah. So this is her at the time. This is a picture of her at the time.
Wow. She's pretty, but, you know, I don't want to compliment her if she's... I mean, she left her kids. But you can be pretty and be a piece of crap.
Yeah. So she abandoned her kids and she went with Father God, and he took her to Crestone, Colorado. And I want to talk a little bit about Crestone, give a little bit of background about Crestone. Many people believe that this place has incredible energy, that it's like a vortex to higher energies. If Crestone sounds familiar, it's because season 1 of Up and Vanished followed the story of Crystal Reisinger, who went missing there. She hasn't been found yet, but yeah, this is where that happened. So
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
when you said that.
immediately. Yeah. So many people believe that this area has like a really high vibration. It's known for a lot of spiritual development, worship and healing, that kind of stuff. And the Love Has Won cult intentionally chose to go to Crestone because of its healing energy. So a little bit of background on it. In 1977, Maurice Strong, he was a Canadian businessman and a United Nations diplomat. Him and his wife, Han Strong, purchased a large piece of land in the Crestone area, and it had been subdivided to be used as a retirement community. And this land was sacred to a lot of different indigenous groups, and 28% of this land was reserved as greenbelt land, where building was restricted so that they could protect the environment and the natural beauty.
Oh, wow.
So Maurice, when he got the land, he was advised to just sell the land. But when him and his wife Han visited, she felt like an instant connection to the land, and she was like, we have to move here. And so they moved there, and shortly after moving there, she was visited by Glenn Anderson, who was a local mystic and psychic, who said he had actually been waiting for her.
Whoa.
And he told her that the purpose of the land was to serve as a refuge for the world's spiritual traditions and to be a high vibrational interfaith community. And he said that only those sincerely dedicated to their spiritual practice would be able to withstand the strong vibrational energies around there. That the people that would come there would reach a higher vibration of peace. He said that world leaders would come here to find answers to questions like how to reduce consumption, reverse climate change, and find harmony with the environment. And the Hopi tribe was one of the indigenous groups that found this land to be super sacred. So Han consulted with the elders of this tribe in that area and participated in a lot of ceremonies and prayers. And after that, the elders...
Was it a white lady?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And after that, the elders of the Hopi tribe told her that Glenn's vision was actually right.
Oh.
That Han's role was to create a spiritual center to represent the different faiths of the world. And so now Crestone has many spiritual sites.
Wow.
So it's really cool. And a big chunk of that land is still protected. So you can't build or anything on it. So it protects the wildlife and nature and stuff. So it's actually a really cool place. I would love to go there.
Wow, we should.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's Crestone in a nutshell. So in 2006, that's when Father God took Amy to Crestone, and he introduces her to a lot of people like Father God. They also share similar beliefs, and Father God was like rounding people up to kind of start this cult at the time. And these people came from different parts of Colorado, Oregon, and Florida. And at this point, they started spreading their messages online through live stream on Facebook and on YouTube. And when Amy left her family, she completely cut contact with them. Like, she never called to check on her kids or check in with her mom or anything like that. And so the only way that Amy's mom knew what she was up to or if she was okay was through the live streams that they had. So that was like her only way of checking in with her daughter.
Wow.
Yeah. And the first Father God was only around for a couple years, and Amy actually went through quite a few different Father Gods, but she remained the only Mother God, slowly gaining power.
Oh my gosh. Red flag, red flag.
Yeah.
Don't go run away with a man who calls himself God.
Yeah, really.
Ever.
And then start calling yourself Mother God. Yeah, so eventually she rounded up a group of her own, and these people called her Mom. And she'd often refer to herself as Mother God, Mother Earth, Gaia, etc. And she claims that she had been called by her angels to serve humanity and that she had to give up everything.
But you left your kids?
Yeah, it's like you left your kids, and we'll get into that a little more, like that. Like, you call yourself Mother God, but you left your kids.
Okay.
Basically, the root messages of what her new cult was about wasn't anything new. It was just a bunch of new age spirituality. She would talk about vibrations and holistic healing and energy, and she would talk a lot about ascension, so ascending from the 3D to the 5D world, which like if you have heard anything or like dove into new age spirituality, that's a big thing that comes up, you know?
Yeah.
5D being this new world within this old world that is like peaceful, good vibes only kind of thing. So she had that. She had a lot of new age spirituality ideas, but it was also mixed with ideas of different religions, just nitpicked, and mixed with racist and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. However, the more outlandish stuff, they wouldn't like reveal to their followers. At first, it was all like good vibes, you know, only kind of thing. It wasn't until they were actually like in the cult that they were privy to the more nasty stuff.
Yeah. I do not like that.
Yeah. And it's important to mention that this group didn't consider themselves a cult. They considered themselves light workers.
Okay.
So, yeah. On a mission to help humanity reach 5D energy. And they believed that humanity was the cult. So, yeah.
Red flag.
Red flag. The whole time red flag.
Yeah, just multiple red flags.
And none of this was new. Like I said, she literally just found a bunch of articles online and just deemed herself as the creator of those ideas. And honestly, it's not uncommon and especially during the time when this started, it was like when COVID first really was a thing. It's not uncommon for people to feel lost and for people to go and search for answers, you know. And now that we have the internet, it's like everything around you is crumbling, you know, all of this stuff is going on. Of course, you want some sense of stability, some sense of hope, you know.
During COVID is when this all went down? Oh.
When it first started, like that's when she started gaining followers.
Oh.
And so if you're going through that and people are talking about, you know, raising the collective vibration and good vibes and blah, 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 like I can see the appeal, like how she was able to use that time for her advantage, you know?
Yeah, to essentially grow her business. Because like they were probably getting money off of the live streams maybe.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into that as well.
Okay.
So one of Amy's very first appearances was on a video back when the group called themselves the Galactic Free Press. And she appeared with an old father god named Amarith. And she seems super happy at this time. Like her cheeks are glowing. Like she just looks really happy. The video was like her filming a sunset and like some clouds and stuff. And she says, "This is Mother Earth and Father God and our Earth allies, and we declare peace on Earth." And she literally talks like that. Like she's like, and in these older videos, Amy appears just like happy and charismatic, and you know, she's referring to herself as God, but it's very like you know, happy. And these videos continue up until like 2014. And Amy claimed to have been mistreated by Amarith, claiming Amarith being the old father god. She claimed that he locked her in a room and was just like super mistreating her. And that this guy named Miguel Lamboy saved her from that situation and got her out of that. And we'll get into Miguel later. So in 2015, she finds a new father god named Andrew, and he was with her for like almost the rest of the year, and then he ended up leaving, I think like shortly before December 2015. And once he got out of it, he uploaded a video just talking about how he deeply regretted his time at the Love Has Won Ranch and how, yeah. So he was there for a little bit, and then in December of 2015, the Galactic Free Press uploaded a video with Amy and a man named RJ, and it appears to be like a New Age wedding ceremony at the beach in Florida that Miguel conducted. And RJ never got to be a father god though. He ended up being called like a twin flame, and he just never got to be that. Yeah.
Creepy.
I know. And then in March 2016, she finds herself a new father god named Jonah, and they uploaded a video of him and Amy, and supposedly he was summoning Lucifer, and he was just like swaying, and she was burning Palo Santo and sage. What? And the video of this has since been deleted. Wasn't that so weird?
What did people say about that? Like the followers, they weren't creeped out?
I don't know.
What the heck?
Because it was since deleted. Like, you can't find it on the internet. There wasn't any comments to reference or anything.
Weird. That's what I don't understand about a lot of people who are spiritualists, who just kind of like blindly follow people. When you see strange things happening, wouldn't that be the time when you turn around and you say, all right, maybe this isn't what I thought it was?
Yeah.
Or like all the red flags. Like,
I know. I think it's easy to ignore red flags when you're in a really vulnerable state, such as like a worldwide pandemic starting.
Yeah.
Or even before then. I know that a lot of people that get sucked into cults are like, they're struggling. They don't have a lot of community to rely on, or, you know, a lot of their basic needs aren't being met. Like, they're vulnerable. And cult leaders such as Amy prey on that. Yeah.
Both of us
prey on that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Spooky.
I know. So that happened in May 2016. So that happened in March of 2016. And then on May 2016 is when the title Love Has Won first appeared in a video. And they ended up choosing that name a couple years later. And in 2018, Amy had a new father god, Jason Castillo. And we'll talk about him more in a bit, but this is him. This is him and Amy.
Okay.
So at this point, Jason and Amy have a small following with 12 to 20 members at any given time. So it was a really small, really tight-knit group. And together they moved to Moffett, Colorado, which is still in the Crestone area. And Love Has Won didn't qualify as one of the recognized religions to move into Crestone and be part of like the center. You know how they have different religions?
Yeah, different religions and different spiritual groups.
Yeah.
They weren't like accepted?
No, they weren't recognized as like an official religion.
Okay.
And so they ended up finding a house to rent in an area called Baca Grande.
Baca Grande.
And it's still like in the Crestone area.
Okay.
And the house eventually was bought by Miguel Lamboy, who is known in the group as Archangel Michael. And this is Michael and Amy.
Whoa, she looks so weird in that picture.
Yeah. And it was suspected by multiple sources that Miguel didn't actually believe in the cult, that he was just in it for the financial gain. And he claims to have worked for like various nonprofits. But if you look at his resume, it very much looks like a template that comes up when you search like resume examples online.
What?
Yeah. But according to him, he's worked at a lot of different nonprofits.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and everything the cult ever owned was only ever under his name. I think they had a total of 2 cars and 2 properties, and it was only ever under Miguel's name.
Oh, okay.
So he was deemed the president of Love Has Won, whatever that means. And he claimed that Amy cured him of stage 4 cancer. Like, is that not insane?
Come on.
But so
That's
since
so stressful.
I know. But now since he bought that property and one of the followers of Love Has Won like owned it, they had somewhere to live permanently and kind of have a home base.
Okay. Ew.
Yeah. And in 2020, Miguel established the Love Has Won as a non-profit in the state of Colorado, which means that they were tax exempt and they were recognized as like an official non-profit, which is so infuriating. And the group also rented a cabin about an hour away from the house, and they used this cabin basically to brainwash and initiate potential members before actually allowing them to come into the house in Moffett.
Brainwash them how?
We'll get more into it.
Okay. Creepy.
Yeah. And in order to make money to survive, they solicited donations and they sold new age products like vitamins and supplements. They had an online store that they would sell these on.
Okay.
And they also advertised etheric surgeries. And Amy claimed to have done over 100,000 surgeries with her hands and, quote, the power of love. And she claimed to be able to cure a lot of physical illnesses like cancer. She claimed to be able to remove tumors, like healing kidney failures. She claimed to be able to take the brain out of the body and heal it and then put it back in, but spiritually, of course. And according to previous members of the cult, it would often be other members of the cult actually performing these surgeries. So she would claim that it was only ever her, but oftentimes new recruits like would have a guide that they would follow and they would do these surgeries. But yeah, so she would charge $88 for these sessions and claim it was only ever her. And you could purchase one for yourself, or you could purchase one for like a loved one or like a pet. And so people spend a lot of money on these surgeries because you have to remember this was during COVID. I mean, and COVID is still a thing, but like when COVID first started. So they made a lot of money on these. Amy got a lot of donations. Some would be up to $100,000. Some would be up to $400,000.
Oh my god.
Yeah, she scammed a lot of people.
Remember, this is a quick side note, but remember when my mom was like, there's this spiritual healer person. I was getting like really bad migraines and my mom was like, you should go see this lady, and she like bought an appointment for me and I like went. Remember? She was like doing all this weird stuff to my body, like adjusting my body as I was laying down, and she was like, and now I'm gonna go in and heal this part of your body. She had like this little electric machine she like attached to me. I don't even know. It was so weird. It didn't feel like anything. It just, honestly, it all felt fake. And by the end, I was like, that was dumb.
Oh my god.
You don't remember that?
I remember that. I don't think I was with you.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the moment I was like, it worked.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to believe, but yeah. Kind of similar. Creepy. Weird.
So weird.
Ugh, don't love that.
Yeah. And this group, they were repeatedly called out for these donations because the donations and a lot of financial discrepancies, one of them being what they refer to as the Joy Fund. So the Joy Fund would fund Amy to be able to travel and stay like in fancy hotels, and also would pay for her to be able to play games on her phone. Like that literally was part of the description. And followers said that these phone games would help her defeat the bad vibes that she was fighting because she was Mother God trying to save humanity.
What?
Yeah. And a big part of their recruiting was their online presence. They would host these daily live streams on YouTube to promote their products and their services, and obviously try to recruit new members. And they had about 10,000 subscribers, so they were doing pretty well. And they were called daily recruitment live streams, and these videos could go on for hours and were highly effective in recruiting people. And the people that fell prey to these live streams were often people that had just abandoned their family, that were actually doing pretty well, that were like successful, but they were just lured in with promises of a better world, and they were really good at what they did, you know, getting people to come and join them.
Wow.
Yeah. And Amy 1000% used current events to fuel the fear and the urgency for people to join the cult. She also fed into a lot of the conspiracy theories that were going on about COVID at the time. Like, she used that to fuel people and to fuel the fear. Ooh. She knew that there were a lot of people desperately looking for like a lifeline during this tumultuous time, and so she used that to her advantage.
Was this in 2020?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this was like super recent, yeah. Oh. And she continuously told her members to surrender to her. Surrender to mom, surrender to mother, surrender to God, surrender to me. That's something you hear over and over and over. While, like, if you watch anything about her, it comes up a lot.
Red flag.
Mm-hmm. With the potential recruits, it was all love and light. It wasn't anything crazy when they were first trying to recruit people. And she would tell these new recruits that their dead relatives were wanting them to join Love Has Won. So she used that as well. And she also encouraged people to tell their families to also join the cult.
That's so frustrating.
And when the members first arrived to the ranch in Vaca Grande, she would tell them to leave all of their belongings. They were given a new name, all their money, they had to give it up. And when they first got there, they would be starved. And they would not really be allowed to sleep, which obviously makes it harder for you to use your critical thinking skills if you're not eating and sleeping.
Wow.
Amy would actually send guides to walk people through the process of leaving their families behind. And I actually found a clip of Miguel Lamboy talking to one of his new followers, demanding that he gets rid of his attachment to his family. Oh. And note, he says MG a lot, and that stands for Mother God. So now I'm going to show it to you.
Oh, creepy.
You also have attachment to family still. These are things that MG knows about. MG knows everything here. So MG knows this, and we acknowledge this. You know, these are things that have to be resolved. The attachment to family. We're all one. But you got to let go of your family. You know, there's a certain power over situation there, and every time you bring that energy to the house, it's something that you have to transform, and it brings an imbalance to the house.
Isn't that so creepy?
That's so creepy.
Ugh. And it wasn't just Miguel in charge of this. Amy had plenty of guides to walk people through the process of isolating themselves from their families. And it's so creepy. The way that he's talking, it's so, like, manipulative, you know?
Yeah. He knows what he's doing, and the way he's speaking so gently, I feel like that's how you manipulate people.
Yeah. And how he was like, we're all one, blah, 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 like talking like that. Like, that's so weird. And once members were actually led into the group and allowed to live amongst the rest of the group, they were let in on the more bizarre beliefs. And now I'll get into a little bit more about like the more bizarre ones. So apparently, according to herself, Amy lived in this mythical ancient land called Lemuria, and there was this secret technology there that was stolen and caused an explosion that sunk Atlantis, aka the Big Bang.
What?
And now here's the fun part. So Amy was able to save the technology, but she wasn't able to fully ascend to the 5th dimension because humanity wasn't ready, and because reptilians took over the earth and were eating babies. So 19 billion years ago, Amy devised a plan to save the universe and create Father God. And as part of that plan, she sent him to hell to collect darkness. And she worked in heaven creating harmonic balance. And she also created what she called the Father of the Multiverse. And together they formed the Holy Trinity. And
what?
Yeah. And Mother God and Father Earth are twin flames, and they share the same soul. And when they reunite, they will create the second Big Bang. And obviously, Mother God birthed all of creation. And once humanity raises its collective vibration to match the Earth's vibration, they will be ready for Amy to take them to the 5th dimension. And when the time is right, she will lead 144,000 chosen people from Earth into the 5th dimension. And everyone else will be recycled into the galactic sun.
That literally doesn't even make sense.
I know.
And I know that people who, you know, get preyed upon and, like you said, like the torture tactics for convincing people to stay in the cult or like getting them initiated. I understand that that like messes with your brain and stuff, but it's also just like, how could you believe some of this stuff? Like for real.
I feel the same, and I feel like it's important to have a lot of compassion for the people that fell for this because
they're victims.
They're victims. When you're sitting in your right mind and you hear something like this, of course you're gonna be like, what the heck? Like,
yeah.
But in the way that they said it and also what people were dealing with at the time, like, I can see how you justify things because you need a sense of community and everybody, like the whole group is telling you like, yeah, do it, you know, like this sense of like you finally belonging
somewhere,
you know?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. The group believed that Mother God is absorbing all of the lower vibrations of humanity during this process, which is really hard on her, hence why she has to drink so much all the time to be able to process it all. If you guys remember, she had been struggling with addiction in her early years. Like, it's just like that throughout her whole life. She struggles with alcoholism.
Whoa.
And she drinks a lot, and her reasoning is that alcohol is organic, so it's not anything like manufactured or anything like that. It's organic, it comes from the earth, so that's why she can drink it.
What? Oh, that's so weird, dude.
And per herself, her core group of followers were the Galactic Federation of Light team. This is a couple of random stuff that she said, but she claimed that Donald Trump was her father. She claimed to have been reincarnated 534 times and remembers all of them. She claimed that she was Jesus Christ, Joan of Arc, Marilyn Monroe, Cleopatra. Did I say that right? Cleopatra?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Pocahontas, Queen Elizabeth, Harriet Tubman, and much more. She claims to have survived 589 assassination attempts. And she also claimed that when Robin Williams died, he visited her shortly after and became one of her spirit guides.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Donald Trump was her father and she's Harriet Tubman reincarnated? How does that make any sense?
I know. It doesn't. None of this makes sense. None of it makes sense.
Ugh, I hate it. I really hate it. I hate it so much.
I know.
It's like, get me out of here.
And it only gets worse.
No.
Her followers believed that Amy could remove all of their fear and doubt, but only when they completely surrendered to her. Her followers really did genuinely believe that she was God, like in the flesh, and so that's why they worshipped her the way they did.
Ugh.
They believed that free will is a failed experiment and a sin, and that they must always obey Amy and never question her no matter what.
Okay. Is it still a cult?
We'll get into that.
Okay.
And now I want to talk a little bit about the rules that they had because it's so outlandish. So people had to align their own schedules to the 7 colors of the chakras. So for example, only wearing clothes and eating foods that match the color of that day. And members were not allowed to drink or do drugs, which is ironic because she was drinking all the time.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And previous followers also said that they were very limited with what they could eat. Amy claimed that because they were light workers, they didn't need as much food as the regular person, which reminds me of breatharians. If you've seen our very first video, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, go watch it.
Yeah, go watch it.
Yeah.
That's also wild.
Yeah, and the members were also instructed to stare into the sun to receive light coats because they were light workers, which also we mentioned briefly in the breatharian video.
Oh my god.
I know. And men were only allowed to urinate while sitting down, and and members were only allowed to have sex with their twin flames. And followers who showed too much emotion were believed to be taking energy from Amy. And that was the reason that new recruits were kept away from Amy until they raised their vibration enough to be able to be around her. And if members had bad vibes, they would be sent to Desolation Row, which is like this remote area in the middle of nowhere in the desert. And they were ordered to stay there until they raised their vibration, and then they were allowed to come back to the group.
Oh my god.
I know, and get this. It was rumored that people that were sent to Desolation Row were given hallucinogens unknowingly.
No.
Yeah. Isn't that so scary?
That's horrible. That really is so horrible.
I know, because you have no water, you have no one to walk you through the bad trip, you don't even know you're about to trip. Like, oof. And members were not allowed to say the phrase "I think." Instead, they had to say "I feel." So, for example, they couldn't say, "Oh, I think it's nighttime." They would have to say "I feel like it's nighttime." And that is such a powerful thing when you think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to say "I think." Like, that's such a removal of the self. You know?
That it's complete removal of independent thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
They also had a lot of sleep deprivation, so members were to go to sleep no earlier than midnight, and they would be woken up at 5 every single morning and sometimes earlier.
Oh my
because
god.
live streams started at 6 a.m.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Sleep deprivation was used, as a way, obviously, to control people, which is often a tactic that cult leaders will use. And, it breaks people down and makes them much more susceptible to brainwashing. And obviously, when you're not getting enough sleep, you aren't able to think as critically,
Yeah.
And when they asked her about this on the Dr. Phil show, Amy was like, she said that she never made people stay up and that these were boundaries that she set up so that her energy wasn't depleted while people slept. So that they chose to not sleep, to not deplete her of her energy.
Wow, what a liar.
I know. Amy, she was described as by her followers as this loving and kind person, but in the live streams, she was constantly berating her followers. She was constantly being, super nasty and mean. She was calling them out of their name. She seemed super drunk in a lot of these. It was intense. And members say that she drank a lot of beer and tequila throughout the day. And like I said earlier, she claimed that she would drink these because it was organic and a much better option to morphine or drugs, and that she was constantly in pain because she was Mother God, processing all these negative emotions. So that's why she needed a substance to help with that.
That's wild that live streaming was their main source of recruiting. But then she's on the live streams being an a-hole the whole time.
Yeah, I thought the same. I was like, how are you going to recruit people when you're acting like that? But it worked.
But it worked, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And when they asked her about her behavior on the Dr. Phil show, she said that a lot of those clips are taken out of context, that she serves love every day because that's her role, and that she has a lot of anger, or as she calls it, passion, because she was SA'd, and that she was robbed. And so because of that, it just made her act out. And during these live streams, there were a lot of problematic things that happened. Amy and Jason and her followers, they said some crazy racist and anti-Semitic stuff. I'm not going to include any clips of that in the video because we're not going to give it the time of day. Yeah. But just super horrible stuff. I was just like...
Ew.
Yeah.
That's gross.
And here's a clip of Amy talking. It doesn't include any of that, but just to show you what kind of person she was.
Spiritual ego done! If you're not connected to me, you're out. Thank you for your service. Connected, done. If you're not connected in, you're done. You all...
No go home. No ET go home for you.
Battled me! My own light workers battled me! Serving love! And bringing in a new paradigm, you You're about to get it.
Yes.
And every one of you that went against me, you're going to get it. Thank you.
Jesus Christ. Christ. She's so intense.
I honestly was at a loss for words when I first learned about this. I was like,
yeah, and it's like, why is she so angry?
Yeah.
And it's like, who's she yelling at?
Yeah, I know.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about Jason Castillo. Here's him again. I think I showed you a picture of him, but just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
So Amy obviously was really abusive to her members before Jason ever came along, but things got a lot worse when she deemed him Father God. I feel like it just amplified her abuse, and he was really abusive.
Was that him in the video?
Which one?
And like the one.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
who that was. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. So Jason had a history of drunk driving, breaking and entering, and child neglect.
Jeez.
And he very much was a disciplinarian, and he often forced members of the group to degrade themselves on the live streams.
Oh.
There's a clip of Jason going up to this guy, who I believe is John, but he just looks so exhausted. And he goes up to him and he's like, "Are you gonna sleep all day, or are you gonna get up and serve Mother God?" And he's like the kid's just like, "Oh, what?" Like, "No, I'm gonna get up." And he's just like bullying the crap out of this dude, and he just looks so exhausted, and he's just like being so mean, and it's disturbing. And he was super anti-Semitic. He said some really nasty stuff, and he was really racist. Didn't hold back on the slurs.
Oh.
I won't add that, but it's just horrible. And this is a side note, but this supports the idea of like New Age spirituality to the alt-right pipeline. I didn't know until recently, but just like it's so much more prevalent than I knew. Like New Age spirituality leading into the alt-right. We won't get too into it, but like,
yeah, I learned a little bit about that.
Yeah, very creepy. This very much supports it because that's what it is, you know? It's a lot. Bear with me. But yeah, together Jason and Amy were extremely abusive, very racist, super intense, and former members of the cult have accused Jason of physically and sexually abusing them.
Ew, dude. Oh my god.
Jason particularly enjoyed tormenting John, which is that guy in the video that is super sleep deprived. There's a lot of videos of him just being super mean to him.
Oh.
In the Dr. Phil show, he asks Amy, how do you call yourself Mother God if you literally abandoned your 3 children? They were 2, 7, and 12 at the time. How do you explain that? And she was like, I didn't want to leave them. Like, she begged her angels to not make her leave, but she was the only one that could do this mission, so she absolutely had to. And she said that this broke her heart every day for about a year.
Liar.
I know, and I'm like, for a year? This broke your heart for 1 year, and then after that you were fine? And like, if you guys remember, her mom said that she never was like very maternal with her kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a really horrible person.
Yeah.
Like, in one of the live streams, I won't go into specifics, but she's just like putting a child in timeout, but she's just being like really abusive and intense about it. And on the Dr. Phil show, he asks her about it, and it's just like, and he's like, how do you justify that abuse? And Dr. Phil just calls it out, and it's just like, that's abuse. Like, you know, I'm not gonna let you justify that. And I was happy that somebody called her out on that.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Then, yeah, there was another incident on a live stream with a cat, and again, she was just being abusive and just horrible, and she was called out on that as well on the Dr. Phil show. She's just so gross.
What did she say about that?
Because she was holding the cat by the scruff, like by the neck.
Oh.
And she was like, well, moms do that. And yeah, but like feline moms do that to their baby kitties, not like to their grown cats, you know? So that was her justification. And she was just like, I was disciplining him. That's her whole thing. Like, anytime she gets called out on abuse, it's either not abuse or discipline. She never ever took accountability for anything.
Oh, what a creep.
Yeah. There was another incident on a live stream, and it's Amy holding the camera, and she's holding it toward a follower that brought her meatballs for dinner. And she said that her vision was for chicken parmesan, and that she loves meatballs, but she didn't ask for meatballs. And so she sits there and she belittles her follower, and it's just like super intense. She's obviously drunk, slurring her words. I'll show you a clip of that because that one's not as bad.
Creepy, bro.
I didn't say meatballs. I love meatballs. But I didn't say that. Chicken parmesan. I get up every moment by my atoms. I'm like, I just need a tequila. Like, it takes like 5 rounds of to get me a tequila.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
This was the Love and Light Queen that
That people put on a pedestal.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, every time she was called out on her behavior, on her being like just verbally abusive to her followers, and, you know, the kid incident and the cat incident, she's always like, oh, it was taken out of context. It was taken out of context. And it's just like, in no context is any of that behavior okay. You know? There's no context that would make that okay.
No.
And it sucks because family of the cult members, of the, you know, people joining the cult, literally the only way that they could make sure that their family member was still alive and okay was through these live streams.
Yeah.
And so that's how they would try to stay updated. And every time they would call the local police to do a wellness check, they were never allowed inside. And because all of them were consulting adults, there was nothing that the local police department could do. They couldn't be like, no, they couldn't get a warrant or anything, you know?
Oh, that's so sad.
I know.
Holy cow.
There's a former member that comes on the Dr. Phil show and is talking about her experience. And she first learned about the group through Facebook. And like what really drew her in was they were talking about bringing peace and love to Earth, you know, raising the collective vibration. So at first she was like, wow, that sounds amazing. That's exactly what she's been searching for, you know?
Yeah.
And when she first got there, it was a gorgeous ranch in Colorado. And at the time, she sincerely believed that Amy was God, you know? And so she gets there, and the first night that Ashley got there, someone was sent away, like one of the followers. And so immediately she knew that something was off there. And she was told that she was embodying like lower vibrations and energies, and that she had to fix it. And so that's why she had to stay in their rented house for like the first 2 weeks. And she wasn't allowed to see Amy until she raised her vibration. So that's why she had to stay there. And when she finally was able to see her, she said that it was so weird seeing someone like so frail. Like Amy was really frail and she couldn't walk. So they had to carry her from room to room, like even to the bathroom. 2 months into being in the group, Ashley left everything, all of her belongings and everything. And she made a run for it without telling anyone. It wasn't until she got home that everything set in and she was like, oh my God, this severity of what she had just experienced like really set in. And she spoke about her experience, and obviously she's no longer a part of that, and she's healing and just living her best life. And
that's so scary. I'm glad she got away.
I know, I'm so happy she got away, dude.
Wow.
And then there's a story of another dude. So this guy, he had a wife and kids, he had a 6-figure income, and overall successful person. And he followed the group online, and he decided to move into the Love Has Won ranch. And he claimed that it felt like it was like a spiritual mission for him to move there. And so he left his family, everything, his job.
Wow.
And, yeah. And for context, he was a conservative Republican that believed in conspiracy theories. And what really reeled him in was the idea that this group would help humanity ascend into 5D energy. And he ended up giving Love Has Won $15,000 in donations. Yeah.
Whoa.
And as soon as he got there, he was immediately put to work. They had him performing a lot of manual labor with very limited sleep.
Jeez.
Yeah, and the only way that his wife could keep track of him was through the live streams on YouTube. And on his first visit, he was introduced on the live stream as someone who was really happy and confident and clear-minded. And on the second day he was there, his family realized that he was in danger. He actually called his wife and let her know that he was going to the airport to come home and that he would be walking there. But the airport was a 3 to 4 hour drive from the Love Has Won ranch, like, to the airport. And he called her to say that he was gonna walk to the airport.
Red flag.
That same evening that he called his wife, they mentioned him on the live stream, and then they said that he had been taken to the other side of the mountain. So I'm guessing Desolation Row.
No.
And was left there because his energy was not compatible with the group. And they were making fun of him. They were mocking him. They were like, you can't just tell mother that you need sleep. You have to cut all ties. You have to surrender to mother. And the wife immediately called for help, and she tried to like set up well, she did. She set up like a search and rescue group with volunteers that agreed to go look for him. And this one nurse found him, and she actually stayed with him for several hours until somebody was able to come. So like, that was really cool of her.
Wow.
But he was found naked and disoriented, and it was believed that he had been given hallucinogens and left for dead. And he was actually arrested because he was on private property.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I know. And when he got home, he was still like, kind of out of it. Like, he felt happy because he was like, oh, I completed my mission. Like,
what?
Yeah, he wasn't all the way there. And now he is. And now he's dealing with a lot of shame of like leaving his family and everything. But he is healing and isn't part of the group anymore. Yeah. Just working on the guilt of leaving his family.
That is a lot.
Mm-hmm. On the Dr. Phil show, they had a cult expert named Rick Allen Ross. He talked about the dangers of this group and how the members are brought into this tight-knit group, and it's a very controlled environment, and they control their sleep, their work, their actions, their finances, their thoughts. And Amy is reinforced by the people around her, so it's like no matter how like outlandish her behavior is, like erratic or abusive, it's always
justified.
Yeah, it's always justified. Everybody in the group is like, you can't disagree with her. And he talks about how a lot of cult leaders actually have found to be narcissistic, sociopaths, psychopaths, really unable or unwilling to reflect or to have a conscience.
Like Charles Manson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not a unique group. There have been a number of people that have started similar groups with grandiose God complexes that don't actually have very interesting or unique abilities or ideas. For example, there was a woman named Elizabeth Clare Prophet who went by Guru Ma or Mother, and she started a group called the Church Universal and Triumphant. And it's so weird, you guys, like the whole time that, because it's like Dr. Phil and he's interviewing her mom, Amy's mom, and Amy's sister, and then Amy is there on the TV. How do you call that? Like, just like web,
like on the like a web meeting, like Zoom.
Yeah, she's like on a Zoom. And she's just going like this the whole time. Like her mom, everybody, like people are talking about how intense and culty she is, and the cult expert is like, you're a narcissist, like,
and
you
she's
know?
just going
and
like
she's just
this.
like almost mocking them, like just like, oh.
Ew.
And yeah, and when Dr. Phil first greets her, he's like, hey, Amy, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, hi, Dr. Phil, I love you. And like, she's just like, every time she talks, it's very much like, oh, I'm just like so peace, love, and light, you know, like, Mm-hmm. She says a lot throughout the interview, oh, that was misconstrued, it's taken out of context. And he's like, okay, we have plenty of time, give me the context, you know? And
yeah,
she can't, you know, because she's just being abusive.
Yeah, and how she was abusive to the little kid, and she was just like, he just needed to be disciplined, but she can't give any more information about her abusive behavior.
Yeah, and I like that he continuously called it out for the abuse that it is, because there were so many people in that group reinforcing her behavior, and it's like, you can't treat children like that. You know what I mean?
And you can't justify it.
Yeah. So Rick Allen is talking about this, and he says,
the cult expert.
Yeah, the cult expert. He's talking about how she's like, surrender to me, let me think for you, don't question me, let me, you know, be unquestioningly subservient to me, you know, it's not just surrender to me, it's like, let me think for you, you know. And she's constantly saying that, like constantly. It's like with affirmations.
Yeah.
If you tell something to somebody enough, they're gonna believe it.
Yeah. Or if you reiterate something enough, it becomes true to you.
Mm-hmm. It becomes a truth.
Yeah.
It's frightening to have an absolute leader like that with that kind of group that is that dysfunctional, because you know it's not going to end well.
Yeah.
And so by the end of 2020, Amy starts to look really sick and frail in these live streams, and members have to carry her from room to room. And in August, she and a few members traveled to Kauai, Hawaii, and this was sort of like an end of life trip for her. She knew that she didn't have a lot of time. She claimed that she had cancer.
Wow.
And so, yeah, and so they ended up...
But she could heal cancer?
Yeah. There were 2 followers of the cult that were also on the Dr. Phil show remotely. And I can't remember, Aurora and something else. And it's just these like 2 pretty skinny white girls. And they're just like, oh, Mother God, like, da-da-da-da-da. Like, yeah, she can do this, she can do that. And they're just so, they're so frustrating to me. Like, just the way that they...
idolize her.
They justify her behavior. It's disgusting. But yeah, and I think they said something about how she can't cure her own cancer because, I can't remember why, because she's human, because she made a human soul pact or something. I don't know.
What the hell?
Yeah, so she's super sick at this time, and so they ended up renting a house. And from the time they got there, the locals were not happy. Love Has Won was seen as a cult and as a threat, and at the time, the locals in Hawaii were taking the COVID precautions very seriously. And Love Has Won, they were repeatedly violating the COVID-19 restrictions. They were mocking the locals. They were just really gross about it.
Okay.
But things really took a turn when Amy claimed to be the reincarnated Pele, who is the Hawaiian goddess of fire, lightning, wind, dance, and volcanoes. And this really upset the locals, and rightfully so. They were extremely offended. More than 100 people gathered outside their house to protest, and they were throwing eggs and rocks, and they
good
broke
for them.
I know. And they broke the windows in her SUV, and Amy was like, I can't believe they would resort to violence. And like, really?
Coming from an abusive, creepy lady?
Yeah. More than 12 cops showed up to the scene, and 2 National Guard cars were standing by ready to intervene. And the mayor even got involved. He was telling them that he couldn't guarantee their safety. And so Love Has Won agreed to leave if they bought them all tickets back home. So they couldn't even afford to fly back home. So they were like, okay, we'll leave if you buy us our tickets and if we have a police escort to the airport.
Wow.
Finally, they left, and finally they stopped appropriating Hawaiian culture and endangering the safety of the locals, so that's good.
It doesn't feel like enough.
No.
I'm glad that the Hawaiian people retaliated, and at the same time, I'm like, that's not enough.
Yeah, I feel like they should have gotten
Beaten
a
up.
fine or something, yeah.
Yeah.
In April 2021, they moved from Hawaii to Mount Shasta, California, and they lived in a trailer with a few of the followers. And at this point, Amy is really, really sick because obviously she's taking all of the pain and suffering of humanity, and she's a physical metaphor of what's happening to Mother Earth with pollution.
What?
And obviously this explains her angry outbursts.
Okay. That's wild that she was on Dr. Phil. I never saw anything about that, I don't think.
I know. It turns out that Amy did in fact have cancer and was paralyzed from the waist down. And she was still drinking a lot. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Plot twist.
Plot twist. She actually did have cancer.
And she couldn't cure it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Mother God.
Okay, Mother God.
She actually begged her followers more than once to take her to the hospital, and they refused every single time, telling her that this was part of the ascension. And they were literally following the steps that she told them to take, you know?
Yeah.
They were just doing what she taught them. And they believed that this was what they had all been waiting for. That once she died, that she would go to the 5th dimension and they would follow her shortly after that. And they were afraid to take her to the hospital since doctors wouldn't understand what was happening and would try to save her and in turn prevent the ascension. And
That's hilarious.
I know. Jason was with her the entire time, and he gave her a bunch of alcohol and he gave her colloidal silver, which, side note, ingesting colloidal silver long term can result in a blue-gray discoloration of the skin, eyes, internal organs, nails, and gums. It's usually permanent, and it can cause serious side effects such as seizures and organic damage. And studies show that there are absolutely no benefits of ingesting it, and it is strongly advised to not.
Okay.
And Love Has Won sold and strongly promoted it on their live streams as a cure for COVID-19. Oh. And they were warned to stop selling it, and they were reported to the FDA. But yeah, she just kept taking it. And Amy just kept getting worse and worse. She got really sick, and here is a picture of Amy.
Wait, really quick. Is colloidal silver that stuff that's in a thermostat and you like put it on your hand and it looks like a little ball? Is that
I
what
think
it is?
so.
Oh.
Yeah, I think so.
Or is that mercury? I think that's mercury. Sorry.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a science major. I'm not a major of anything. So I don't know. Okay? This is Amy when she was really sick, and you can see how her skin looks really gray, and she's like really, really skinny.
Oh, jeez.
And this is a before and after. Look at that.
Oh my God, her skin.
I know. Her family still really cared about Amy, and they called the local police multiple times for welfare checks, but the police were never allowed in. And on April 10th, 2021, the landlord came to talk to her and was alarmed by her appearance, saying that she literally looked like a corpse. And 6 days later, on April 16th, there was a picture posted on the private Love Has Won page of Father God, Jason, holding Amy in his arms. And Amy's skin just looks like purple and sickly, and her hair was thinning.
That's so creepy.
I know. And her mom sees the picture, and so she calls the local authorities, telling them, like, hey, it's an emergency. And so they go, the local police, and an ambulance show up to the home. And again, they were denied entrance, and they were sent away, and they didn't have a warrant or anything, so legally they couldn't go in to check on her.
Yikes.
I know. On April 28th, 2021, the Saguache County Sheriff's Office was called to the home in Moffett. They were called by Miguel Lamboy, or Archangel Michael. He told them that he had been away and had just gotten home to his trailer, which members of the Love Has Won cult had been staying at. When he arrived, he saw Amy's dead body mummified and wrapped in Christmas lights. And she was on a makeshift shrine. Yeah. Her eyes had been gouged out. Her lips had been curled back to show her teeth. Her body was wrapped in Christmas lights, and she had glitter makeup on her face.
What the
I know.
Oh, that is so creepy, bro.
I know. And so Miguel then tried to take his 2-year-old son with him and leave, but the members wouldn't let him leave with his son. So he left alone and drove straight to the police station and told them what was happening. And then the police went to the house, and Michael was able to leave with his son.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. And the officers said that they had never seen a group of people be so chill and relaxed amongst a dead body. It was so chilling to them to see a group of people be so relaxed with a literal decaying dead body there. Isn't that so eerie?
That is so creepy.
They suspected that the body was Amy, but they weren't sure because the body was so decomposed. And they were later able to determine that it was Amy after her mother sent in a DNA sample that they used to match it up. After the autopsy, it was determined that Amy had been sick since October of 2020, and she had been dead for about 4 weeks or more, and was likely dead in the picture that was uploaded onto the private Love Has Won page. It was also determined that she had been ingesting dangerous amounts of colloidal silver. So 7 members were arrested in regards to her death, including Jason Castillo. 4 of them were charged with tampering with a corpse. 3 were charged with abuse of a corpse, and all 7 were charged with child abuse, as there were 2 children in the home during this entire time.
No.
1 person was charged with false imprisonment for not letting Miguel leave. So it was his 2-year-old son, and then there was also a 13-year-old girl there. And so she was put into foster care after this.
Oh my god.
Yeah. After Miguel reported the crime, he fled and hasn't been seen since. Some of the members claim he stole a large amount of money from the group before leaving.
This man needs to be stopped.
Yeah. At first, Love Has Won insisted that Amy wasn't dead because God couldn't die. But once the media reported her corpse being found, they started celebrating because they thought that this meant that she had ascended and she was no longer suffering.
Okay, guys, come on. It's like, give it up.
Yeah.
Her dead body was in the house, in the trailer, decomposing.
Literally.
Maybe some of them didn't know, I guess?
Yeah, it could be that, because not all of them were there.
Oof.
Between the California and Colorado locations, there were 29 members of the cult at the time of Amy's death.
Okay.
The members who were not arrested have disappeared but still believe in the cult and are awaiting to ascend themselves. And the members that were charged, they no longer appear in the live streams.
There's still live streams?
Yeah, and we'll get into that, but yeah. We'll get into it like right now.
We'll get into it right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Investigators believe that the followers were at fault for Amy's death because they denied her food and water in her last days. Although it was what she had been preaching all along, that her dying would be her ascending and then her followers. They genuinely believed that they were doing the right thing and saving humanity by essentially killing her and denying her medical attention. After her death, the live streams were still conducted from various parts of the world. Oh, yeah, I already said that, but the members that fled after being charged never appeared in any of the live streams. They still reject the term cult and truly believe that Amy is God. And it's rumored that Jason Castillo and Miguel Lamboy have taken over leadership of the cult. And the group still has the Joy Fund. If you remember, it was for Amy traveling and playing phone games.
Yeah.
And all of the nonprofit assets are still in Miguel's name.
Okay.
To this day, the Facebook page is still active, although they did change their name to, like, can't remember. And we don't need to know. But they have about 13,000 followers. The last time I checked, the last post that they had posted was August 10th of this year, 2022. One of the longtime followers was talking about, one of the ones that appeared on the Dr. Phil show. She was talking about all this astrology stuff, the Lionsgate portal and chakras and stuff. And
what?
Yeah. And they also have a new YouTube with their rebranded name, and they have about 1,000 followers. Per my observation, they've stepped away from like their weird racist conspiracy theories and have sort of rebranded into talking about like astrology and calmer spirituality.
Okay.
And the videos are still taken with a person like, sitting in front of a spiritual tapestry. They're still preaching like new age stuff. Yeah, like I said this earlier, but this cult really is a great example of how sneaky people are into starting with the new age spirituality and leading into the alt-right stuff, you know?
Yeah, straight
because
up.
the same girl that was leading the stuff talking about the Lionsgate portal, she was also saying some super anti-Semitic stuff like a year earlier. Gross stuff.
Oh, come on.
When this cult first started, Amy knew what she was doing, targeting vulnerable people, looking for answers during a really scary time, you know, like looking for a higher truth, and she ended up hurting a lot of people. This cult traumatized not only previous cult members, but the family of those cult members that all they could do was sit back and watch these super creepy live streams. And a lot of these people had children too, so it's like either these kids got completely abandoned or they were brought into this super scary environment, you know, like,
and possibly some are still in that environment.
Yeah. Oh, it's just gross.
That's wild that she was supposed to be at the beginning of this ascension, but then she died and the cult still has followers. I never understand that.
I know, it's so disgusting. It's genuinely infuriating to me because this cult left a lasting damage on a lot of people's lives, and now they're coming off as this super love and light spiritual group. It's so gross and upsetting to think about because they're not saying sorry to all the people they've harmed, and they're also not even taking accountability, and they're still talking about Amy as if she's God and like trying to rebrand themselves with modern astrology and stuff. And I hate it, and I think it's really absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the story of Amy Carlson and the Love Has Won cult.
Wow, that was disgusting. Should we fast forward, finish our makeup, come back?
Yeah.
Okay. Wild. Also, we're back.
Hi, we're back.
And that was a wild story.
That was wild, huh? Did you like the story?
I loved it. You did such a good job.
Thank you. Anyways.
That was a heavy, wild one.
That was a little heavier.
Honestly, I'm so shocked that the cult still exists.
I know.
That people still believe that Amy was the chosen one or whatever.
God. It genuinely makes me upset because you can't just harm that many people that badly and then not take accountability and rebrand yourself like as an astrology queen. No.
Yeah, just get away with it.
Yeah. But I hope you enjoyed listening to it nonetheless.
Yeah, I know I did. Thank you for telling it. And I feel like you're a great storyteller.
Thank you.
And even though I don't want to learn about that ugly person, at least it's a beautiful person telling the story.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? And your makeup looks really pretty. And
Thank
I like
you.
your pink glitter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love your makeup.
Oh, thank you.
Chucky's girlfriend bride?
Tiffany?
Tiffany.
Is that her name?
I don't remember.
I think that's her name.
I love you so much. Thank you for watching this. And stay tuned for our next video because it's going to be a wild one.
Maybe.
Maybe.
And don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment. And if you're feeling a little frisky, you could always turn on your notifications to our videos.
Yeah, and follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, we haven't really been posting on there very much, but we're going to try and be more consistent with our Instagram. And yeah, it will be in the description. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.